Meet Iggy, the inventive inchworm, a tiny creature with a big imagination. This isn't your average inchworm, no. Iggy is something special. He's a genius of minuscule proportions, a creative mastermind in a world that's often much bigger than he is. Born into a family of ordinary inchworms, Iggy was always a little different. While his siblings were content to inch along branches and leaves, Iggy was dreaming up inventions. He was fascinated by the world around him, constantly asking questions and seeking answers. From a young age, his inventive skills were evident. He'd use twigs and leaves to construct tiny contraptions, solving problems that his inchworm family didn't even know they had. His love for problem-solving was born out of a curiosity and a desire to make the world a better place, one small invention at a time. With a mind full of ideas, Iggy is always ready for an adventure. One sunny day, Iggy found himself in the middle of a big problem in the meadow. It was a problem that had all the little insects in a tizzy. Their food supply was disappearing, and they had no idea why or how it was happening. The meadow, usually a place of joy and laughter, was filled with anxious whispers and worried faces. The butterflies fluttered around, their vibrant wings fluttering in the breeze, but their faces were drawn in concern. The bees, usually buzzing happily from flower to flower, were now buzzing in confusion, their honeycombs empty. The ants marched in a line, not in their usual organized manner, but in a chaotic frenzy, their anthills barren. The grasshoppers, who loved to leap from leaf to leaf, were now grounded, their energy drained from the lack of food. The ladybugs, known for their cheerful demeanor, were now huddled together, their spotted backs shivering in worry. Even the spiders, who usually kept to themselves, were seen spinning their webs in distress, their prey scarce. The meadow was in a state of upheaval, and the insects didn't know what to do. They were used to their lives being filled with plenty of food, plenty of laughter, and plenty of sunshine. But now, their food was disappearing, and with it, their joy. The insects didn't understand why their food was vanishing. Was it a new predator? Or was it something to do with the weather? They were at a loss, and their confusion turned into frustration. The meadow, once a haven of peace and tranquility, was now a place of uncertainty and unrest. But amidst all this chaos, there was one little inchworm who saw this not as a problem, but as a challenge. Iggy, with his inventive mind, looked at the worried faces of his friends and made a decision. He would not let this problem defeat them. He would find the cause of their disappearing food and come up with a solution. Iggy, with his inventive mind, decided to help his friends and find a solution. Iggy began his investigation, inspecting every leaf and every flower. The meadow was full of potential clues that could help him find out who was behind the missing food. As an inventive inchworm, Iggy knew that the key to any good investigation was observation, and that's exactly what he did. He began by looking closely at the area where the food had been. The grass was trampled, and the leaves were scattered, signs of a hasty exit. His keen eyes spotted something interesting, a set of strange tracks leading away from the meadow. They were unlike any he had seen before, small and round, almost as if whatever made them was rolling rather than walking. Intrigued, Iggy decided to follow them. As he set off, he kept his eyes peeled for more clues. He noticed that the tracks were deeper in some places than others, suggesting that the mysterious culprit was carrying something heavy. Could it be the missing food? Iggy was even more determined to find out. He followed the tracks through the meadow, across a babbling brook, and into the shadow of a large oak tree. The tracks seemed to disappear at the base of the tree, but Iggy wasn't discouraged. He knew that sometimes, clues can be found in the most unexpected places. As he examined the tree, he spotted something glinting in the sunlight. It was a crumb, the same kind that had been in the food that went missing. Iggy knew he was onto something. His mind raced with possibilities. Who could have taken the food? Why would they leave such a clear trail? And most importantly, how could he get the food back? But even with all these questions, Iggy felt a thrill of excitement. Investigating was like piecing together a puzzle, and Iggy loved puzzles. Every discovery, every clue brought him one step closer to solving the mystery. It was a challenge, but Iggy was more than up for it. With a trail to follow, Iggy felt confident he was on the right path to solving the mystery. The tracks led Iggy to an ant hill, a place he'd never dared to venture before. With a deep breath, he found the courage to inch closer, his heart beating like a drum in his little chest. His feelers twitched, sensing the hustle and bustle of the ant hill, and then he saw it. A line of ants, marching one after the other, each carrying a morsel of food back to their hill. In the world of insects, ants are known for their hard work and teamwork. But this was something else. The ants weren't just working, they were working overtime. Iggy watched as the ants tirelessly carried food back to their hill, disappearing into the tiny entrance, only to reappear moments later, ready for another round. Intrigued, Iggy decided to follow one of the ants. He watched as the ant carried a grain of rice, much larger than itself, up the hill and into the anthill. Inside, it was a maze of tunnels and chambers filled with food. There was no doubt about it. The ants were the ones taking the food from the meadow. But why? Why were the ants storing so much food? Iggy decided to approach one of the ants to find out. He learned that the ants were preparing for a long, harsh winter. They were afraid they wouldn't have enough food to survive, so they were taking as much as they could now while the weather was still warm. Iggy sympathized with the ants. He knew what it was like to be afraid, to worry about the future. But he also knew that the meadow was a shared space, a place where everyone should have enough to eat. Understanding the ants' predicament, Iggy knew he had to find a way for everyone to have enough food. And with that thought, he set off, determined to come up with a solution that would benefit everyone in the meadow. Back in his workshop, Iggy started to work on an ingenious solution. Our inventive inchworm friend had an idea as bright as a sunflower in full bloom. He knew he had to create something that could evenly distribute food among the insects in the meadow. A food dispenser, he thought. That's what they need. With a twinkle in his eye and a determination in his heart, Iggy began to work. He started with a simple design, a structure that could hold food and release it at regular intervals. Iggy was meticulous. He measured twice and cut once, ensuring everything was just perfect. He used materials he found in his surroundings, turning twigs into beams, leaves into panels, and pebbles into knobs and dials. But Iggy's ingenious solution didn't stop there. He wanted to make sure this system was sustainable. He thought about the ants, industrious workers who were always gathering food. What if they could contribute to the food supply in exchange for what they took? It was a brilliant idea, a give-and-take system that would ensure everyone had their fair share. So Iggy set to work again, this time devising a mechanism that would allow the ants to deposit food into the dispenser. It was a delicate operation, but Iggy was patient. He adjusted gears, fine-tuned levers, and before long, the mechanism was ready. With the dispenser and the exchange system in place, Iggy sat back and watched as his invention came to life. The ants started depositing food, the dispenser began to release it, and slowly but surely, the meadow's food problem began to disappear. Iggy's solution was indeed ingenious. He had created a system that not only distributed food evenly, but also encouraged cooperation among the meadow's insects. It was a testament to his creativity and his commitment to making the meadow a better place. With the food dispenser in place, peace and balance returned to the meadow. Iggy's inventive skills had saved the day and taught everyone a valuable lesson. Our little hero, Iggy, exemplified the power of understanding. By taking the time to investigate and empathize with the ants' needs, he was able to devise a solution that not only solved their problem, but also benefited the whole meadow. Sharing resources, it turns out, does more than just help our immediate neighbors. It fosters a sense of community, respect, and unity, making our world a better place for everyone. And let's not forget the role of creativity in problem solving. Iggy's innovative approach was a testament to how thinking outside the box can turn the impossible into the possible. These lessons are not just for our friends in the meadow, but for all of us. Understanding, sharing, creativity, these are the tools we all need to make our world a better place. And so Iggy, the inventive inchworm, continued his adventures, always ready to lend a helping hand.